And I remind all those present that their words and actions will be broadcast to a wider audience, and certain conduct is unacceptable and will not be tolerated. Should any person not wish to be recorded, I advise they should leave the meeting room prior to any statements being made. Any defamatory statements made are not the position of council and remain an individual's opinion. Council accepts no responsibility for any defamatory statements, and all liability remains with the person making those remarks. I might call on Councillor Sutherland to do the acknowledgement to country.
Thank you, Mayor. Yama nei gomoroi, Wallabag Nyani Unagalawa, Yambo Mari, Marumara, Ngale down. Dilia Yambali, going to Marius Gaingal Gomoroi Ngamlanginda, Winalanginda, Winangalawa. I'd say hello. We are on the proud lands of the Gomeroi people. Also like to pay respects to elders both past and present who have cared and still care for this country. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Sutherland. I would now like us all to stand and call on James Ardell to do the meeting prayer, please.
Thank you, Russell. Heavenly Father, we acknowledge your hand over Tamworth and over the officers and staff of Tamworth Regional Council. We thank you for the resilience and health of the Tamworth community in these times of uncertainty. We ask for great wisdom and insight for the councillors as they govern for the common good and prosperity of all people in Tamworth and our region. We commend the staff of council for their integrity, dedication and professionalism as they serve our city and our people. Continue to pour out your favour upon all who call Tamworth home. In the name of our Lord Jesus, amen.
Amen. Thanks, councillors, and welcome to those in the audience. Councillors, starting the meeting, we'll have apologies and leave of absence. We have one apology tonight. I think that's for personal leave, is it? Yeah. From Councillor Steve Mears for personal leave. Could I have someone move that be accepted? Councillor Betts, seconded Councillor Southwell. All those in favour? Aye. Carried. We'll move secondly to community consultation. There is no one listed for community consultation tonight. So we'll move thirdly onto the minutes. Could I have somebody please move the minutes from the last meeting? Councillor Southwell, seconded Councillor Burke. Any questions about those minutes? Any comments on those minutes? All those in favour of those minutes being a true and correct record, please say aye. Those against, carried. We'll move from there to item 5, Merrill minute. There is no Merrill minute.
Disclosure.
Sorry?
Disclosure.
We'll move to disclosure of interest. Is there any disclosures of interest tonight? No disclosures of interest. We'll move to item 6, notice of motion. There are no notice of motion. We'll move to open council reports. The first report tonight, councillors, is item 7.1. Could I have, that's the Tamworth Regional Local Environmental Planning Proposal for Strategian. Someone please move that recommendation. Moved Councillor Coates, seconded Councillor Southwell. Councillor Coates, do you wish to speak to that?
Just very briefly, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tamworth really does need further land available for development and growth in the future. And although this has previously been rural land, it's actually been deemed by all the authorities involved to be suitable for subdivision. And I believe that the proposal in terms of having the mixed sizes of land is going to well meet the needs that we're looking to in the future. So thank you.
Councillors, do I have anybody wishing to speak against the recommendation? Councillor Ryder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, firstly, I'd like to say that I realise that projects like this take a long time to come to fruition, but I'm unable to support this proposal at this time. We will lose good farmland like this out there would be a tragedy. And it's quite close to, obviously, proximity to the Tamworth CBD. Although we have a plan for our region in terms of Blueprint 100, I believe that that has not been sufficiently supported by the other tiers of government in terms of investment in things like health, education, transport, energy and water. We have had no support in our quest for water security. We have no more water security now than 12 years ago, and the spirit that our water consumption is going down while our population is increasing just shows collectively we are satisfied with less, and I think we shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to. And I can only imagine how many litres of water per person we would be allocated at level 5 restrictions with a fully developed Arcadia and Stratheden. Should we actually face another drought like we did during the 2017-2020 drought? We had little support in the last 12 years for more health and education resources, and despite our growing population, and little support for public transport, and no interest from the other tiers of government in projects such as the Performing Arts Precinct. And we actually saw in 2019 the former Arts Minister spend massively in marginal seats to the detriment of our city. Our project, Performing Arts Centre project, stacked up quite highly, and higher than many projects that were ultimately supported in many marginal seats, and then that fund was completely allocated, and when we got nothing. Intersections on Manila Road are already congested at various times of the day without adding another 1,600 traffic movements along that road. And I can't see any alternative traffic route alternatives to that subdivision. We also often see requests for amendments such as lot size reductions after the original approval of big developments, and we saw that with the Arcadia. It went from 1,850 to 2,350, which ultimately have been detrimental to the extant residents. Mostly my concerns are with water security, which is important. We've got no changes to water management legislation or the Peel Valley Water Sharing Plan, and nor do we have a larger slice of the Chaffey Dam pie, which we were promised in 2016 when they increased the capacity of Chaffey Dam. Look, and I do believe that in Tamworth there should be more to growth and a robust economy than property development and growth in terms of real estate sales. We should be focusing on the amenity of our region for current residents, such as good services, parks and gardens and roads. And while we get the odd praise about our road condition, largely I get complaints, and maybe it's just me, the receiver of those complaints, but I doubt it. And for a lot of people, they are concerned that by approving these, we're increasing our road network, and our current road network is way behind. But I am concerned about the main access into Tamworth from that proposed subdivision would be along Manila Road, and I've seen it plenty of times even now, and I think at certain times of the day that road has failed, and the intersections along that way have failed in terms of, say, if you wanted to turn right from Peel Street into Tribe Piper Street, that's very difficult at times. For a whole range of reasons that I've outlined, the proposal for me is a no at this time.
Councillor Stride, anyone wishing to speak in favour of the project? In favour of the recommendation, sorry. Councillor Betts.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, I'm totally in favour of this, because this has been going on for many years. This proposal, it's sort of been part of the Blueprint 100, and Blueprint 100 set out a plan, and it's not about having the infrastructure now. It's about having the capacity to have that infrastructure as it grows, and without growth, you will not get infrastructure. And in regards to the water security is an issue, and it certainly has been sort of front and centre of a lot of our minds. But in 2016, we had a 62 gigalitre dam that was upgraded to 104 gigalitres, and 3 years later it was empty. It is a mismanagement of that water resource. We have not a water security problem. We have a water management issue. And if we continue to work with the community, the consumption of water since 1996 potable water has remained the same. but the plans to put the reuse for industrial use for water will really make this secure. But in order to grow, you have to have developments like this. This is sort of part of growth. If you don't grow, you will die. That's well known in a planning circle. So, Mr Mayor, I'm totally in favour of and supporting this recommendation because, as I said, there's been a lot of work go into this. It hasn't been just something that's sort of flippantly put up. My support's there.
Thanks, councillor Betts. Anyone else wish to speak against the recommendation? Anyone wish to speak in support of the recommendation? Councillor Southmore.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm also very supportive of this this proposal. I'd like to thank Andrew Spicer, our Senior Integrated Planner, for his very extensive report, which has been going on for some years, this actual project. Not only does it align with Blueprint 100, but it also aligns with the New England Northwest Regional Plan, which is in fact the state government plan all the way up to 2041. This is the future of our region. We are one of the biggest growing regional centres in New South Wales, and we're going to, in order to meet the needs of that growth and meet the housing needs, we need to cater for people's housing needs through these types of subdivisions. So there's three main points as to why I think this is fantastic. It provides a diverse range of housing choices for varying demographics in our community. It increases affordability by providing mixed lot sizes and housing choices for our varying community members. And it supports the residential expansion, so alleviating our housing crisis and catering for our growing region. There are issues that have been raised in the report. Traffic, water, yes, they are issues. There's other issues that have been raised by various government departments, which will all come into fruition through our development control plan, as highlighted in the recommendation. So the DCP is something that will guide the development, and that is something that we have input into, and we will be able to provide input into around those concerns, and that will be something that will be approved at a later point in time. So 100% supportive of this, and I think it's crucial to our growing region. Thank you.
Councillors, further comments? Councillor Sutherland.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And although I can see Councillor Rodda's approach and being wary of the impact that development will have across the region, I think the demand for housing across the region is such of a high demand that we have to be proactive in providing opportunities and spaces for people to be able to be attracted to Tamworth and have that level of support. I'd also like to just point out also that across the Cultural Heritage Survey that there were 2 significant Aboriginal sites that were identified, and just want to make sure that that is, and I'm glad to see that that's well represented in the report and carried throughout the development, that any impact on those sites will be done appropriately. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Sutherland. Further comment? Councillor Burke.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and I'll be supporting the recommendation as well with regards to Stratheden for the change in the LEP. Mr Mayor, that particular property is located in a perfect situation for the current infrastructure that council owns and needs to have to support it in terms of water and waste. And it's located where we have a whole lot of other infrastructure going in the Hills Plains area as well. With regards to water security, I think if we don't start to put our backing behind further housing developments that are going to support and underpin the Global Gateway and other huge industrial investment that we're going to see and continue to see in Tamworth, we won't have a future. And I do appreciate my fellow councillor Rodda's comments, but his initial comments did talk about no further water security in the last 12 years. And as Councillor Betts has said, we have gone from 62 gigalitres to 104 at Chaffey Dam. It's just how we use the water. And I think that there's a real opportunity for us going forward. We have had the worst drought this century behind us, followed up by 3 great years where people, unfortunately, not even getting water revenues to the level we want because people aren't needing and requiring water at the moment. But we know that that will change. That'll change very quickly. And the other thing that needs to continue, we've got the new hospital, and I know that there's a lot of planning going around an additional new school. It will happen. Our population is growing. We are the envy of other major regional towns in regional New South Wales. And if we pull the flag out of the ground and say no more, I have great concerns that that sends the wrong signal to investment in Tamworth.
Thanks, Councillor Work. Councillor Tickle?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm definitely in support of this. Considerable planning has gone into this over the years, and thankfully we have had forward-thinking councils for many years now. And we have our Blueprint 100, we have our planning, and this has been in the planning stage for a number of years, and finally it's come to this stage. So what a positive thing we're seeing here tonight. More housing choice. Some people express concern about the small lots, as they have with Arcadia, but it's important for people to realise there is housing lot choice. So you can have a small lot at 450 or up to 800, or be down the back on a 4,000 square metre lot. So there is certainly choice. As is already mentioned, it's a perfect site in many ways, with two main roads adjoining it. And it's not taking all the farming up down to Tor. There's a lot more country down the back near the river. And what if we didn't have Kalala? Kalala was built on some prime land too, on river flats. So we have to keep growing. I think most people realise that. They love being in the country. They're coming to the regional centres, and we need to have developments such as this to support that residential growth, so that we actually have somewhere for people to live that are going to be working at our Global Gateway Park, going to be working at Bayarda, going to be working on properties, going to be producing food and products for us to use. So I really think that this is going to be a wonderful development, ideally located. Sure, there'll be traffic issues. It's traffic issues in East Tamworth around school time too. So it's just a fact of life, no matter where you live in peak time. It might just take a little bit longer, but again, part of our forward planning is traffic management, is transport management, and just so I look forward to seeing this development come to fruition. It's a property I visited for many years before it was sold for this purpose.
Thanks, Councillor Tickle. Before I put it to the vote, I'll just add for those councillors that weren't here. Did you want to close the debate?
Is that okay?
Yeah. But before you do, councillors, I'll just mention that in the development of the LEP we're currently working under, in the year or two previous to that, this land was identified as the next step. It was the next step forward for housing development into the future, and that's what we're seeing now. So for those of you that weren't here back then, this was identified many, many years ago as a piece of land that would be perfectly located geographically for future development. Councillor Cates, you can close the debate.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As my fellow councillors have said, this is a long-term proposal, and it has been a long time in the making and coming to fruition, with lots and lots of work done into it. And I think it's important, we must remember that growth and infrastructure improvements do go together. We can't do one without the other. And I think importantly, to grow and meet the needs of the health, education and other professionals that are wanting and we're needing to come to our area, we need to meet their needs. We need to provide them with the housing, we need to provide them with the choices. And I acknowledge, fellow councillor Rodder, that there are some concerns related to that, and I do acknowledge the traffic flow. However, if you drive around Tamworth, it doesn't matter which direction you come from, in the morning and in the peak hour in the afternoon, you will find lots of traffic on our main roads. So I think Manila Road is not going to be anything different from that. It's just a fact of where we live and how we all go about our daily life. So I think with that in mind, what I'd like to say is that I fully support, and I thank my fellow councillors for that support. And we need to remember that if we are going to change anything about this, it will be addressed, it will come to council, it will be met by the DCP, as Councillor Southwell said. So we do have lots of ways of actually ensuring that this particular development meets the needs of the community into the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Coates. That closes the debate. I'll now put the recommendation. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Please put your hand up. Councillors, those opposed? One. That recommendation is passed. Councillors, we'll move on to item 7.2, managing conflict of interest in council-related development applications. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved Councillor Sutherland, seconded Councillor Betts. Councillor Sutherland, would you like to speak to that?
No, Mr Mayor.
Is there anyone wishing to speak against that recommendation? Is there anyone wishing to make further comment on that recommendation? It being the case, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Carried. Councillors, we now move into infrastructure and services, and we'll move to item 8.1, local government water management conference in Parks for the 26th and 28th of June. Could I have somebody please move that recommendation? Councillor Southwell, seconded Councillor Betts. Would you like to speak to that, Councillor Southwell?
No, thank you.
As part of this recommendation, we will need to seek nominations from representatives from the council, councillors anyway, to attend if they wish. So, in moving on, I would call for nominations for that conference.
Mr Mayor, I'm not nominating, but could we have an indication of the staff that are going?
Yes, we do, Councillor Tickle. We have Naomi. She will be speaking at the conference, and we have our Director Bruce Logan, who will be part of the panel asking questions on things like dams. So, yes, we do. Councillor Sutherland.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd love to attend if supported by my fellow councillors.
Councillor Betts.
Yeah, certainly, Mr Mayor, I'd certainly like to support Councillor Sutherland's nomination, but normally I've gone to this conference ever since I've been in local government, because I think it's an absolutely worthwhile conference, because water is front and centre. We were talking about it before with the development, the Strath Eden development, and if we are not at the table, decisions can be made. If we're there, you can actually see where the direction is going. It's a national speakers. Like last time we were there, it was just a very, very informative one, and the director and I got some very good information out of it. So I do think it's important that we as a council have good, strong representation there. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Betts. So we have Councillor Sutherland. I too will put my name forward if council is approved for me to attend that conference. I think it's very important, but I will ask if there are other councillors that wish to attend. Okay, so we've got Councillor Sutherland and myself. Further discussion on the matter? Anybody wish to make a further comment? Councillor Southwell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll just briefly comment to say that I'd like to wish Naomi all the best. Naomi Shipansky, I can't quite say her last name, but in her presentation, which is around risk to assess strategic recommendations, and yeah, I just think that her approach, which was resulted in improving TRC's water network resilience and saving millions, I think obviously we're leading the way in that particular area, to the point where Naomi has been elected to speak on that. So well done to her, and all the best to our Director Bruce Logan for a very intriguing panel discussion. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. I think yeah, all the best for that one. And I would have I would have liked to have attended just to hear what that is all about. But unfortunately, I'm unavailable on those dates. But fully supportive of the Mayor and Miss Councillor Sutherland attending. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Southwell. Is there any further comments? No further comments. I'll just make one very brief comment. I think we should be very proud of our staff. We've got Director Bruce Logan and Naomi, I won't say her last name, who are highly regarded by government and by local government as a whole in their fields of expertise, and I think we should be very proud of that. So I'll put that recommendation, including the nomination of Councillor Sutherland and myself, to attend, along with those two staff members. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, carried. Councillors, we'll move on to item 8.2. Councillor Betts.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to move the recommendation that is on the screen. It's slightly different. It's got a couple of inclusions to the recommendation that we have before us. But this, the recommendation that's on the screen keeps this debate open because this report actually closes off the possibility or the short-term possibility of looking for the options to have a weir and the Peel River beautification. But by having this...
Councillor Betts, have I got a second?
Sorry, no, sorry.
Got a second for that? Have I got a second for that? Councillor Tickle? No, go if you like, Councillor Betts.
Carried away.
Got excited because the reason why I am excited because it is a very worthwhile project for the long term for our city to actually beautify the city, and it has benefit. I know the initial reports that we had, the cost benefit at this stage to actually enhance the water supply is somewhat in the negative, but with further research, I think that the cost benefit to have a beautified area, the tourist attraction that it would bring, is certainly worthwhile to keep this debate open. And there is just a couple of changes there that in, what is it, item... dot point.
So I've sent everyone Councillor Betts, I've sent everyone a list of what was on there, but those words on item D, investigate, so go if you like, sorry.
Yeah, but there was a slight change that you just made just then, but it's pretty much that was sent this afternoon, so thanks, Mr Mayor.
Anyone wish to speak against that recommendation?
Yes, Miriam, I'd like to propose an amendment to that motion, and that would be the removal of item 3 from the proposed recommendation as stated, which is to continue the investigation of the weir and the Peel, including the discussion of relevant state government organisations.
So, okay, that's a negative. Yeah, you want to move that as an amendment?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'll have to get a second.
If I can have some.
Yeah. Could I have a seconder for that?
I'll second that for discussion.
For discussion. Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. Councillor Sutherland, do you want to speak to that?
Yes, please, Mr Mayor. I understand that the conversation around water security for Tamworth has been a strong and ongoing conversation for many years. We're looking at many options to improve water security, and I believe that the conversation around having a weir or a recreational lake is somewhat of an attempt to improve that water security, but as Councillor Betts also mentioned around the beautification and the benefit of having a beautiful river. I guess I'm opposed to that opinion. That's why I believe that the process that we've gone through of engaging a top quality consultant, which we've spent $50,000 to get expert opinion on what our approach should be, and the recommendation that we received back from that consultant was to not progress the idea of the weir on a number of different grounds, as stated quite clearly in the report from the consultant. You know, one of the points that were highlighted was the cost of a potential weir was $11 million. The cost of $11 million for a weir that would improve our water security. I believe the wording was minor. 3 days approximate water security benefit. So the argument that the weir is going to be in the river for water security, I believe is not a reality based on the input and the report received from the consultant. Secondly, Mr Mayor, I just want to talk around the beautification of the Peel River. It's great to see that in our sustainability strategy that we've just recently moved, we've included actions around the revitalisation of degraded waterways and improvements of the Peel River. To me, a healthy river is one that's cared for, one that's looked after, not one that's manipulated, one that is changed purely for the aesthetics of a river system. Weirs don't create healthy river systems, we know that. We can look across the Murray-Darling Basin and see the impact of weirs all throughout our waterways. Like, look at the major fish kills that's recently happened at Menindee, linked directly back to weirs and the impact that it has on our river systems. I think that there's enough evidence in the report that's been put through that we put the idea of a weir in our Peel River system here in Tamworth to bed. I don't believe that it is an appropriate use of staff time to continue to invest resources, whether it be monetary or in a time investment, in a project that we continually have been told is a bad idea. State government telling us it's not an appropriate way to treat our river system. So I think that for us to progress in this idea and leave this conversation open for the beautification of the Peel River, I think is time that could be better spent on the improvements that's been listed. So, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, councillor. Anyone wish to speak against the amendment? Councillor Betts.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. Look, I understand councillor